through a time of reflection, discernment, and new direction. My title is actually Transitional Leader. Kind of don't see myself as an executive, but as someone who is helping to facilitate discernment about where we're going, or if we should go anywhere as a region. The transition work has been done over the past year, and we have a 3-year plan for the work. The first year was completed in October when a working group that I had convened gathered together and developed some recommendations on a new direction for the Synod. I want to personally thank Cass Shaw for that first year of work. Cass was a very important part of that working group. If you go to our website, synodne.org, you'll be able to see a visual of that working group. And it would really be important for you to see that because that represents our future. Cass and I would have to admit that we were about the oldest ones in the group. It was very important for me to gather together a very young group of leaders who were very racially and ethnically diverse. And we really did achieve that. We're restaffing some positions in that, and the Synod Council will receive our recommendations on Friday for that restaffing. Thanking Cass for her service of a year, begged her to stay on, but said she had other things that she needed to do. But I think what you're going to see when you go back to the website is that the Transitions Working Group actually is getting younger. And that's very important. And I'll share why in just a moment, even though it seems obvious. What we did was we went back and we looked at the previous work that we had done as a synod, saying, who are we and what should we be doing? We've had other studies in the past. We wanted to look at our past research. We took that, and then we went out and we listened. We took focus groups, and we did a period of real discernment. Some of the things that surprised us is when we began the work, we thought that the tide was going to be to simply dissolve the synod. But what we learned instead was that people yearn to be connected into a regional community. What people didn't want was to just simply have more meetings. Yeah. Well, what we decided is that however we're going to redesign ourselves, it needs to be something that reduces administrative functions. In other words, how can the Synod best gather its resources together so that we can help one another without being overburdened by meetings and that sort of thing? And we have some ideas that are emerging from that. We, as we looked at who we were as a Synod, there were 3 very significant assets that we began to identify as important drivers. The first one is our racial and ethnic diversity. We are by far the most diverse of the regions of the PCUSA. That pretty much is a no-brainer. I mean, we include New York City, Metro, New Jersey, Boston. And if you don't know, the Synod of the Northeast is one of the 2 largest synods by far, and probably the largest synod in the PCUSA. We go from Maine to Cape May, New Jersey, and we go all the way out to Western New York. We have 1,100 congregations in 22 presbyteries, and that's the Northeast section of the Presbyterian Church. So the first thing we said is we have some really important diversity. As we look at the future church, we know the future church is going to need to find more effective ways to embrace the new diversity that our entire country is moving into. The second one is that we have an amazing number of young leadership. Now, when I was at New York City Presbytery's cabinet a while back, I was candid enough to say to them, and I will to you, is that I don't know if we deserve them. We haven't always given young leaders the places to really use their gifts, but I am so grateful that they haven't given up on us. And so the second asset is our emerging leaders. that this is a very important part of how we're going to need to move forward. And the third is one that I always want to make sure it's third, is that we have significant financial assets. We have a pool of funds that we could redirect into common goals. The next piece of our work is to go out into presbyteries. You've already heard back from me, but you'll be hearing from me again to have times where I hope some of you will come and have conversation about what is our missional focus in the Northeast. Are there some things that we feel we could do better together than we might do alone? Some things that are emerging are in the areas of diversity. I know that amongst the national leadership of the PCUSA, they would really yearn for us to provide more leadership and to learn ourselves how to embrace our multicultural future that is before us. This is really exciting stuff, and it's stuff that we believe we can't do simply as presbyteries, but that we would need to do in a region. The region will not look the same when we get all done in terms of structure. We will have a renewed sense of purpose and focus, and we'll try to use those assets and many others. Some of the things we're doing is the Synod Assembly adopted unanimously the direction that we're now pursuing. And that direction is first to create and to facilitate the creation of networks of passion and interest. What this means is across presbytery lines, when folks are passionate about an area of ministry, within certain guidelines, they'll be encouraged and facilitated to gather together with others with similar interests. For example, disaster relief would be certainly one that will probably perk up. We already have some things like Early Ministry Institute, but there may be lots of other areas where folks say, this is a passion for us. Who else within this region has that same passion? Put people together, give them access to our resources so that they can flourish where they're feeling called to do and engage in ministry. The second area is to create opportunities for presbyteries to create partnerships. There are times when there are certain functions that happen within one presbytery that might benefit from partnering with others. We need to get people in the same room so they can understand what their common interests and needs are and help to bring those together. So a lot of the work we're talking about is facilitation and gathering of people from within the membership of our synod together. The third, and that's off for another year yet, is that we want to further encourage presbyteries to work together by holding a presbytery convention, to put presbytery leadership from all of our presbyteries into a big room for a day and begin to talk about, are these the most appropriate boundaries, both geographic and also in terms of size of number of churches? Are we best aligned the way we are, or is there another way that some presbyteries may choose to realign themselves? All of that will be done simply as an encouragement. We'll provide incentives, including funding incentives, and then we'll let the presbyteries make their own decisions. Nothing in the new plan will be top-down. Instead, it'll be from the bottom up, and it'll be about how can we together help one another and support one another in our ministries. Finally, with an example, is PDA. The Synod Council will receive a request through our trustees to withdraw $100,000 of our savings to fund staff within affected presbyteries, those affected by the hurricane, so that they can have stipends to pay relief coordinators. We immediately noticed that was a way we could help one another. The relief coordinators in like Monmouth and New York City are overwhelmed. And so we're trying to think of how can we, from our vantage point, how can we help in these presbyteries? Because believe me, these coordinators are already so exhausted. So what are things we can do to help them? So thank you for the time here. And if there's questions, I'll be here for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.